What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all should know by now, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora, that means a lot, of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the #1 scumbag, Rex Ruger. That is REXXX. You might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look. Should be undeniable that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. I am feeling good. And of course, everybody in the house, including you guys, are looking good. That is, of course, made possible by my favorite product. Put some of this in your hair, and you too could look, well, maybe not this good, but pretty good. Coming to you from the lush lavender lounge of love, where it all goes down. Joined as always by Keith Hernandez, number 17 in your program, #1 in your hearts. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. We don't know how to give you frills, but what we can promise you, outside of kick-ass guests, are something better than frills, and that's thrills. And that is looking at the face of the greatest frontman, second greatest frontman, I digress, to ever do this thing. So, with that being said, and of course, you get a nice little sneak peek behind the curtain here because we don't know how to edit nothing. We don't know how to do anything with any technical savvy. So, it is what it is. We're raw. We're uncut. But we do deliver kick-ass guests, and today is no different. Another legend. That's right, legend. And I am super excited to have him, and big things are coming from he and his band. Exciting things, monumental things, things of great importance in the metal world. And again, I will not steal his thunder. We will let him elaborate. While we were waiting for him to join us, let me remind you about my glam sleaze passion project, Love Sword. Still looking for players. Nobody seems to want to take the challenge, as I have thrown down the gauntlet to be the backing band behind the man. Nobody seems to want to slide into my DMs. Nobody wants to seem to send me any audition tapes of them doing their thing. So, and look, folks, I know it's intimidating. But listen, if you want to achieve greatness, this is the bandwagon to jump on, folks. While we're waiting for my friend here, let me play a real quick round of Find Rex's Bad Side. Nope. Still doesn't exist. Keith? No bad side. Shocker, huh? Let me send my invite here. Give you a little sneak peek behind the curtain here, because I don't know how to not give you a sneak behind the curtain. Again, 50 years old over here. You know, what you see is what you get. And what you get from a technical aspect is very little. But what you get from a killer guest standpoint, huge. So be grateful for that. So what else? I'm very excited about today's guest because he is, I'll say it again, a legend in the, certainly the metal scene, especially the death metal scene. And he and his band are a band that, I don't want to say underrated. Well, I will say criminally underrated, I think, because when we think of death metal bands, it instantly comes to mind a lot of the big ones, i.e. your Cannibal Corpse, your Obituary, your Deicides, bands of these nature. But, well, he's here now, so enough with the fucking chit-chat. Let's dispense with the formalities, chop it up with him on Pod Scum. Let's fucking do it. Enough already. The death metal gets me angry. Where is he?
Here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Just don't see you yet. I hear you. There he is. Tobias, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm gonna try the last name, but I'll probably fuck it up because I think it's a regional thing. Gustafsson?
It's very close. It's very good.
Very close. Good. Because I've had Bobby Gustafsson on here before, and he's just a regular Gustafsson, I think.
Yeah.
So I've got it somewhat right.
Yeah. In Sweden, it's Gustafsson.
I'm glad you brought up. Obviously, first of all, let me dispense with let me give the introduction here. Tobias Gustafsson from Vomitory, from Cut Up, a guy that I consider a death metal legend. You can argue with that if you want, but when you're doing death metal since 1989, you're a fucking legend. It's not an easy, it's not an easy genre of music, right? You're not going to become John Bon Jovi. You know what I mean? It's you really got to love it and slog through it to be doing it for 30 plus years, right?
Yeah, that's right. Or being very, very stupid, I guess.
Yeah.
Or a combination of both.
Or a combination of both.
But really, it's of course it's about the passion for the music and
right.
Yeah.
I'm interested now. We right off the top you mentioned Sweden. I'm interested as to why, and I've asked a couple of guys on here who are from the Florida death metal scene. Again, over here in the States, a huge death metal scene in the state of Florida. But why is there such a big death metal scene in Sweden? What the hell are you guys so fucking angry about over there? Because the best death metal comes out of fucking Sweden. I don't give a shit who's going to argue with me on that. It's hands down fact. Why is it such a hotbed for great death metal, though?
I don't know really, but probably I think the weather.
Yeah, I'll blame it on the
weather. The weather has a lot to do with it. Since during the from October until February, it's very, very dark.
Yeah,
very dark. Well, in February it starts to get a little bit lighter in the daytime, and the days are getting longer. But it's dark and cold, and you don't spend so much time outside. So probably a lot of people, if you're into playing an instrument, or you probably practice a lot more when you're a kid, and there's a lot of time to start bands. And also I think when you're young, at least when I grew up, there was a big the possibilities to start a band were very good here, because the community supported that. At the youth clubs and so on, they bought instruments that you could borrow, and they also had rehearsal rooms for new bands to like borrow for free, basically. So I guess, and also another thing is that I think that Sweden has always been quite sensitive for trends, no matter if it's music or whatever it is, sports or I think we are quite heavily influenced by the US in many aspects. Whenever there's some new, I don't know, like skateboard or rollerblades or whatever, the Swedes, they pick it up like that.
We're on it.
Yeah, we're on it. So I think that also has something to do with it.
I feel like I'm here in upstate New York, and I feel like you just described upstate New York. Long winters, dark, and not a lot to fucking do. So I think we're kind of in the same boat. We have very long, brutal winters here in the Northeast as well. So big news right off the rip, though. A new Vomitory album coming here in 2023, in a matter of weeks, actually. Why a new Vomitory album now? The last one was, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, was 2011.
That's correct.
Now, why now?
Well, we actually, in 2013, we actually disbanded the band.
Right.
We decided to bury it for good. But then things happened that made us come back together again in 2017. We were asked by a big festival in Germany called the Summer Breeze Festival.
Okay.
They asked us if we wanted to do a one-off reunion show to honor the memory of the label manager of Metal Blade Records Europe, who passed away in 2013, and he was also the manager of this festival. So they gathered a bunch of bands that worked closely with him during his time at Metal Blade, and also while he was working for the festival. So of course we never wanted to reunite,
right?
But when we got this question if we wanted to be part of honoring the memory of Michael Trengert, we instantly said yes,
right?
Because he was the one who signed signed us to Metal Blade in '99, and he did a lot of great stuff for the band in the early 2000s. He got us on some really killer tours, in Europe. So yeah, we owed him that. So we did that one-off show, and all of a sudden it felt fucking great again.
Yeah.
So we started talking about maybe we should leave the door open and maybe do some more shows in the future.
Sure.
So we left it there, and then Eric, our bass player and vocalist, he came up with the idea to reunite and do in 2019 to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the band, and have that as an excuse to go out and play live again at festivals.
Right.
Play as much as possible just for the fun of it. So we did that, and we got so many requests, and we wanted to play a lot more. So we decided to extend this temporary reunion, because the plan was to reunite and do these shows and then go back to the grave with the band. But we extended it into 2020 to play some more shows, and then the world came to a halt.
Sure did. Yeah.
Yeah. So during a couple of years, tours and festivals were either postponed or canceled, and so on. And we started to discuss whether we should just do these shows that we still had booked for 2022, but then it felt kind of weird to do 30th anniversary shows when it was actually 33 years.
Right.
So all of us were into the idea of actually start to write new material and make a new album, and get back as a band for real again.
Yeah. So, now this band is really, I think when I think of this band, I certainly think of it being initiated by you and your brother. So when you guys sit down to write a new album, what's the creative process like? Do you guys bring the lion's share of the ideas, or is it a collaborative effort? Does everybody in the band get involved when you're sitting down to write?
No, it's pretty much a solo thing most of the times. We never really, jam together in the rehearsal place and come up with songs, but everybody's we're writing by ourselves.
Okay, but the door is open for everybody to have input, though.
Yes, of course. And I mean, when I have written, composed a song, the music, and I play it to the other guys, everybody has their chance to say if they want to change anything or come with suggestions. It's not like carved in stone that this is exactly how the song should be. No, we're open to changes if one part is maybe too long or too short, or switch places or anything like that. So I think on this album, though, me and Eric worked a lot more closely together than we did before. Because on this album, it's all the music uh, was written by me and Eric, and all the lyrics were written by Eric. But we worked more closely, sat together when we were writing, and also working more on the phrasings on the lyrics and so on.
Yeah.
Rather than going into the studio and yeah, it what happens.
Right. You're right. So when you're in a band with your brother, though, I'm interested in that dichotomy, because obviously, throughout the history of rock music, rock and metal music, certainly there have been combinations of brothers in bands before. What's it like specifically for you and your brother? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, we're like friends.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one in the gang, just as I am one of his gang.
Yeah.
Because we've been playing together for so long, and also before that, when we were kids, we were not getting along so well. We were fighting a lot when we were kids, but
typical.
Yeah, but then during the teenage years, I started playing drums before he started playing guitar, and so I think he got quite inspired to play in his own band.
Yeah.
You know? So he eventually he bought a guitar and started Vomitory together with Ronnie. So, and
now, why the drums for you? Because obviously when people are starting bands, and you mentioned you started before your brother. You started the drums, he got the guitar. Sometimes the drums is not always the most glamorous instrument for kids. They want to be out in front of the stage. They want to be playing the guitar. They want to be the front man. How did you find your way to the drums?
I don't know, but I think it was fate or whatever.
Yeah.
Because ever since I was a very, very little kid, I was always banging on pots and pans in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And there is one picture of me when I was like 7 months old, sitting in the by the cupboard with all the pots and pans. That was my favorite spot, apparently.
Yeah.
And I remember watching all those TV shows when I was a kid. I was always when they had a house band, my eyes always got focused on the drums and the drummer. Always.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was very fascinated by the drums at a very, very early age. So, and I remember when I was drawing, I was drawing drum kits and also stage sets with the drums. Of course, it was the main focus.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I was asking my parents, I want a drum kit, but it took until I was 13 years old when I finally got my first drum kit. So, and for that, I'm eternally grateful.
Now, I like to think that I got a pretty good grasp on the English language, and I know, I have a very wide vocabulary. I read a lot, but for some reason, I had no fucking idea what the hell a vomitory is. It really sounds like it belongs as the name of a death metal band. It sounds like a place where you would store fucking puke, but it actually is a tunnel underneath a stadium or an arena.
Yeah, that's one meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that's not how you guys mean it.
No, how we mean it is that something that induces vomiting.
Yeah.
How
crazy that it has that meaning, though, because I looked it up because I thought this has to be something. These guys are a death metal band. This has to be something extremely fucking gross, like a place where you like stockpile your fucking your vomit or whatever the hell this is. Like this is like a fucking like a silo to store vomit. I don't know what this is, but I want to find out. And then I see a passage in and out of a stadium or an auditorium, and like an underground passage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's not very death metal. I think I like the idea of a place to store vomit, better. It sounds more disgusting.
Yeah, it does. We actually got the name. The old Swedish band called Treblinka?
Yes.
Yeah, that later became Tiamat.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a black metal band, and they released. I remember they had this 7-inch EP that my brother had, and we were looking at their stage names, and I think it was one of the guitarists or the drummer. His name was Emetic.
Okay.
And we looked it up in a dictionary, and there we found the synonymous word vomitory.
Yeah.
Something that causes you to vomit.
Yeah. It fits. I mean,
yeah, I think so.
As far as death metal names go, I mean, you kind of have to pick something that sounds, it's certainly got to sound, what's the word I'm like? Well, I'll just say it flat out. It's got to sound kind of disgusting when you're, in the pantheon of great death metal names. You know, I mean, Cannibal Corpse. You think of, you think of grotesque stuff. It should be something gross. So I like what I'm reading. First of all, I've listened to the first track off the album, All Heads Are Gonna Roll, and I watched the video. First of all, I love the fact that you guys really put some stock into making a fantastic video. I love the way the animation, and it's very sinister and creepy how that's kind of spliced in there. It's great to see people still using video as an important medium, because there's not a lot of places that nowadays with no MTV and no Headbangers Ball, there's no place to really watch videos anymore. But I think it's still a very useful tool in marketing a band. No?
Yeah, it is, definitely. And I think I would say the contrary now, because now everybody has, everyone has a smartphone, and everybody has access to YouTube, and that's the biggest TV channel in the world.
Yeah.
So, videos are definitely an important tool in marketing. So, we're gonna release at least one more from this album. So there will be more videos.
And when you say, just reading some early stuff, from rock journalists and websites and stuff, a lot of people are saying, because you guys had the long hiatus, that this is really, even down to the album title and that first track, All Heads Are Gonna Roll. This really seems like you guys really are making like a statement. Like this is really like, a return with a vengeance. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, I think so. I think you're quite spot on there.
Yeah, I mean, when you come back with a song like "All Heads Are Gonna Roll" and an album titled that, it sounds like it's game on. Take no prisoners.
Exactly, and I think we had that title as that was kind of our mindset during the writing process. We were thinking, all heads are gonna fucking roll when this album comes out. So that was kind of our guiding star.
Now, did you think when you started this in 1989, what was the plan? Like, being truthful, what was the vision at that point? Did you guys really think that this would still be a thing 30-something years later? Or did you really think like, hey, we'll do music for a little while and eventually this will fizzle out and we'll do something else? Did you really think you'd be here playing extreme metal music, 30 plus years later?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. When we started the band, we didn't even think of releasing an album. That was, to us back then, that was something like so far away from us.
Yeah.
In our minds.
Right.
But we were persistent, and eventually we released an album. So that was huge for us. But no, we never. We just got together and played extreme music because we enjoyed it, and to maybe piss some other people off.
Sure.
Other musicians in our area, because I know some of them, they were looking with disgust at us when we were playing, because they thought that they were so much better than us.
Yeah.
But we had the mosh pit, they didn't.
Right. There you go.
So,
yeah. Now, I certainly would be remiss, and I don't want to hear it from people down in the comment section because I don't ask this question, but it has been a while since there's been anything from Cut Up. Will there be anything further from Cut Up, or is Cut Up going to take a back seat to Vomitory?
As it is now, Cut Up is taking the back seat.
Okay.
Yeah, because me and Eric are obviously busy with Vomitory now, and
Right.
It's actually only me and Eric left in Cut Up.
Right.
So
it's tough to be a death metal duo.
Yeah, it is. But me and Eric, we talked about it, and we said that we will keep the band, and we will see if we will do something more in the future. But the band still exists, but it's put on hold for now.
Okay, fair enough. Now, when you start playing drums, do you remember what was the first music that really got you excited? Do you remember like your first influences, the first guys that you first listened to playing drums that really got you excited? Guys that you enjoy listening to.
Well, you mean at the time when I started playing drums, or before that?
Yeah.
Well, by then I had already listened to metal for a good 5 years or something.
Yeah.
So obviously, since Iron Maiden is the best band in the world, I've always thought that. Clive Burr and Nico McBrain, of course.
Sure.
Huge influences and inspirations to me, and all the bands that I was listening to at that time. Filthy Taylor of Motorhead. What else? Pete Gill and Nigel Glockler from Saxon.
Okay.
Stefan Kaufmann of Accept. Great fucking drummer.
Yeah.
And a lot of bands from Germany, like Running Wild, the drummer there. I don't remember if it's Jörg Michael was playing there. Yeah.
As you get older and you're playing extreme metal, and as I said, you're 30 plus years into playing this type of music. Does anything change as obviously we can't replicate what we did when we were 18 or 20 years old anymore. Do you have to take special any special preparation now when you're going to get behind the kit? Because obviously things probably hurt a little bit more nowadays, right? You get older, and I'm certainly not saying you're over the hill. I'm fucking 50 years old myself, but obviously we can't always do the things that we did before. You're playing a very extreme, a very fast pace. Does it feel different sitting behind the kit now?
Well, it doesn't hurt when I play, but I since quite many years now, I need to warm up at least my hands pretty good before a show to get the speed, and also warm up my wrists, especially the left one, because I had some problems with my left wrist about 25 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
I had some pain, but that also was caused of bad technique. So I changed my technique with my left hand a little bit. So
that's interesting. That's interesting. How far into your career do you change your technique?
This was around 2000. Well, in the early 2000s. So by then I had been playing for. I had been playing for about 15 years.
And what was it that you needed to change about your technique? Because a lot of times, when something becomes muscle memory and you've been doing it for so long, that seems like that would be very difficult to do. For other drummers out there, what was it that you felt you were doing wrong that you needed to change, and what did you change?
Let me show you.
Okay.
I had my grip like this.
Okay.
So when I played the snare drum, my hand moved like this.
Okay. Okay.
And that's not the normal movement for the hand. So I changed the height of the snare drum, and also I moved my hand more like this.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Because this is a more natural move than
Sure. Yeah.
than this.
Yeah.
And I also had some problems from the work where I was working at that time. My wrist got how do you say it, I overused it, so
yeah, hyperextended.
Yeah, something like that, because
Yeah.
I was turning this wheel many times a day.
Okay.
And yeah.
Who the hell is
So-
making you turn a wheel at work? Don't they know that you're a fucking goddamn drummer? Come on, give this guy a break. He can't be turning a wheel and making vomitory drum tracks. Come on, I mean, give the guy a break. Let's find him something better. Find him something better to do, for God's sakes. Jesus.
Yeah.
You better give me the boss's number. I'll put a good word in for you. We can't have this.
Well, I quit that place like 20 years ago. So
okay, good. Imagine if you were still turning that wheel, where you'd be now. I mean, for God's sake, we'd never get a new vomitory album.
No, I was busy turning wheels.
So I'm interested when this album comes out. Like, what is the plan? Is it back to full on touring for vomitory?
Yeah, we have a bunch of festivals booked already in Europe. So we'll do those, and well, we actually have one festival booked in the US for next year, and that's Maryland Death Fest in Baltimore.
Oh yes, yep.
Yeah. And then in September, as it looks now, we're going on a full European tour. But I can't give you any details yet because it's not officially announced. But
fair enough. What about how about touring in the States?
Yeah, we would love to do that.
Yeah.
We will see if this album finally brings us over so we can make a real tour there. We haven't done that ever before.
You've never done a U.S. tour, right?
No.
And what does it entail nowadays? Because obviously, and I've talked about this on here before, it's no secret that the landscape of the music industry very different than it was when you guys started, even different than it was 10, 15 years ago with streaming platforms and all that kind of stuff. Like, what does it take for a band of vomitory status? You guys have been doing this a long time, but what prevents you guys from being able to come over and do a tour in the States? Is it label support? Is it money? Is it all those things?
Well, yeah. Well, it comes down. It's the money.
Always.
When
I know.
It always. Yeah. I mean, we've had offers, but like way back even.
Yeah.
But we could never do it because it would cost us way too much money that we didn't have at that time. So
right.
So yeah.
When you look back at the legacy of the band, though, like, what would you like people to remember Vomitory as? I mean, obviously, it goes without saying that I mentioned, the longevity. The longevity alone is very impressive, especially in extreme metal music. You don't see a lot of death metal bands, have 20, 30 year, plus runs, and be successful and have people still be excited about a new album coming out. There's a buzz about this album. People are happy to have you guys back. But what would you want there to be what would you look back on and say, geez, I hope people remember Vomitory for?
Never going soft.
That's true.
And always being consistent.
Yeah, consistency is big. I like that in metal too. And you do kind of see that kind of that's kind of a polarizing topic, because you see a lot of metal bands put out stuff and people will say that sounds like the last album. But then when somebody goes against the grain of what they do, then everybody starts shitting on them and saying, what the hell did they do? They went away from their sound completely. A band like Metallica takes a lot of shit for this kind of thing, it's either people want Master of Puppets over and over and over and over again, And I think a band sometimes like that wants to grow a little bit, but you guys do have a formula though, correct? You have an expectation of what people want to hear.
Yeah, and we write the stuff that we want to play. So
yeah. What's the difference between the European audiences and the audiences in the States, in your opinion? I know you haven't done a lot of touring in the States, but obviously, I'm sure people that have toured in the States. You probably heard rumors about tours in the States. And what I mean is you guys have a lot of festivals over in Europe, quite a bit more big metal festivals than we have over here. Why do you think that is? Do the European fans, are they just more invested in metal music, in that whole scene?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the Germans.
Yeah.
And I think Germany is probably the biggest market in Europe.
Yeah.
For metal. But yeah, I would say that, yeah. But it's difficult since we haven't played much in the US. Actually, only one show.
One show in your whole career.
Yeah. In 2007.
And when you guys are making this video, how much input do you guys have into this? Like, is anybody in the band like very good at this kind of stuff, or are you guys there when this video is being? I know you guys play in the video. There's certainly scenes, images of you guys playing, but then the other stuff is kind of spliced in there. How much of that do you guys have input into as to what's going in there?
I would say all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea for this video came from Eric, our vocalist, bassist. He had the idea of making these animations. He didn't make them though. There were professionals doing that.
Okay.
But he had the idea, and I think he also wrote a kind of a script for it. Even that. So yeah, a lot. It comes from him, almost all of it.
And when you're going to sit down, you specifically, and you're going to sit down and write music, do you have a specific creative process, or does creativity just kind of, could pop into your head at any point in the day? Or do you set aside, do you have like a music writing routine where you go to a certain room in your house, or, you have a certain ambiance, or you set time aside to write, or could inspiration just hit you at any time?
It hits me in any time.
Yeah.
It can be the most inconvenient places,
Yeah.
Then I have to either find a piece of paper and write down my ideas, or make some notes, so I hopefully can translate that when I get home and I can play it on the guitar, or maybe sing it into my phone, or something like that. But I also, during the writing process of this new album, I was quite disciplined, which is unusual for me when it comes to writing. I was quite disciplined to go to my music room in my house, and work. Even though I didn't have any inspiration, I worked on the songs.
Yeah.
I made the mistakes and I made the shitty riffs on those bad days when I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah.
But I was, by the end of those couple of hours or whatever it was, I was still satisfied because I had worked, even though I didn't.
Right. You're right. You treated it right. You treated it like a job. You know what I mean? You felt like you punched the clock and you went to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think that was a very rewarding way of working, because I was still happy that I was still feeling good, not frustrated that I couldn't write any killer riffs that day. I was still, satisfied that I had worked, even though I didn't write that killer riff. But maybe that riff came the next day. Right. Because I had a shitty day before. Right. You got all that out of your system the day before. Yeah. Get all the shit out of the way, and now you're ready to dive into the good stuff. Yeah. So, were you guys at all concerned, when you sit around to do a new album, are you guys at all concerned about,
because a lot has changed since your last album in 2011, were you worried about, because so much music is being put out every day, and people's attention span really seems like it has really shrunk down a lot. It's kind of like people are just on to the next thing constantly, you know what I mean? And if you don't grab them quick and reel them in, they're on to the next fucking thing. Were you guys worried like, damn, we haven't dropped an album in a long time. Are the people still going to be there and be receptive to it? Did that idea pop into you guys' minds?
I don't think we were ever afraid of that, because we learned since we got together again in 2019 and play live shows, we have learned that our fans are very, very, very loyal.
Yeah.
And we knew that when we're dropping this bomb that we are releasing a new album, they will go crazy.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and they are. Yeah. And they are continuing to. And how much feedback have you guys gotten so far just off that first track and off the video?
It's been overwhelming, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I expected, of course, a lot of good comments, but it's been way more than I expected, at least.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really happy with that.
And when you sit down to drum, or when you listen to other drummers, with your own playing or with somebody else's playing, what is it that stands out to you that's the mark of a good drummer? And me not being a musician myself, help me understand a little bit, like, is it tone? Is it, obviously there's a lot of speed involved in the type of music that you play, but what is the makings of a good death metal drummer? You know what I mean? Like, what do you think the main components are that make somebody, good? Because it's not all just blast beats and speed, right? I mean, there is certainly more elements to it.
The number one, I would say, is the balls.
Okay. The balls. Okay.
The balls in your playing. It's difficult to pinpoint what that is, but there are certain drummers that plays with huge balls. I mean, a guy like Donald Tardy of Obituary.
Love him.
He's definitely not the fastest drummer out there, but he has huge balls in his playing.
Yeah.
So groovy, and he has balls.
Yeah.
And also Doc, who was the drummer for Vader from Poland.
Okay.
He, such incredible drummer. Such power and energy. I don't think that. Of course, it's nice to hear a super technical drummer and you get wow, that was impressive. But
yeah,
I prefer more. I mean, even a non-technical drummer like Mick Harris, who was in Napalm Death for many years.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the kind of drummer that I like. But also a guy like Dirk Verbeuren, who plays with the Megadeth now.
Oh yes, yep.
Super skilled and like a perfect metal drummer. He's an amazing drummer. Also,
yeah. Saw him on tour this past summer. Phenomenal. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's difficult to say, but the balls and the.
Let's remind the kids out there: balls and kids, don't do any of this.
No.
Right. Right. Let's get it right, kids. Yeah, you're hearing it right here from the man himself. You know what I mean? Watch that wrist position right there, I too similarly have problems with my right wrist, but for it's a lot different reasons, but we won't go into that right now. But so I'm interested. You have a very serious tone yourself, though. Is that something that you're aware of? Because when I listen to your drumming, it has its own distinct sound, and I can't really put a finger on it. I wrote down some adjectives. It's certainly heavy. There's certainly a very crunchy snarl to it. You know what I mean? It's very I don't know how to put it, but do you agree that you have a signature sound of your own? You think people could pick you out of a lineup?
I think so.
Yeah,
But
I think it's very distinct, your sound.
But I can't tell you why.
Yeah, I can't tell you why either. Now, as a non-musician, I can't tell you why. I'm writing down pathetic adjectives here because I don't know how to, you know what I mean? But it's very distinct. When I hear you play, I can tell that it's you. Even on the cut up stuff, you know, Forensic Nightmares, I can tell that it's you. You have a very distinct, you know, and that's not always easy to do with extreme drumming, you know, because a lot of it does kind of just bleed together and just sound very fast and frenetic, and you know, it's sometimes it can be, you know, you talk about guys that play guitar, you hear a lot of guys say, oh, that guy's got a very distinct tone. You know, you can recognize, you know, that guy's tone or that guy's vocal range or that guy's, you know, ability to put down a bass line. You know, it seems a little harder to pick out drummers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially in extreme metal.
Yeah. I'm very. Never mind.
Well. So when this album comes out, you know, well, first of all, obviously I can see there's a lot of, you know, a full LP there. Do you guys sit around? Because obviously, again, music trends have changed a lot. People are putting out a lot of singles. People are going the EP route. As I just mentioned, people's attention isn't what it used to be. You guys sit around and talk about the format in which you want to release music. Like, are you guys old school where you're always going to put out an LP? You're not going to go like shorter stuff or put out singles. I mean, obviously, you know, you're releasing tracks, you know, as singles, but you've written a complete album though. Is that the format that works best for Vomitory?
We've never really thought about it, but that's what we grew up with, you know, bands, our favorite bands releasing albums.
Yeah.
Sure, they did the singles and EPs as well, but back in the early 2000s, we were talking about maybe do some EP, but our record label was not into the idea because it, for different reasons. So we never bothered to ask any more, ask again about that. So it's always been albums for us.
Yeah, churn out the albums. Yeah, that's important. So what's it going to take to get Vomitory to the States? I mean, you know, do I got to put you guys up? Do I got to get the guest bedroom ready? I mean, what do we got to do here? You know, I mean, like, you know, how do we get some dates over here? I'll put up the living quarters. You bring the Swedish meatballs. Fair enough?
Sounds fair enough.
Yeah, and you know, what is it about those meatballs that became synonymous with Sweden? Do you eat a lot of them?
Yeah, I had it for lunch today.
Swedish meatballs.
Yeah.
And make the distinction for me. The difference with a meatball over here and a Swedish meatball is what? You guys dip them in some type of a jelly?
No. I don't know how American meatballs are.
Well, you know, ordinarily Italian people over here, you know, I mean, like make meatballs. Well, I mean, anybody can make them, but they're synonymous with an Italian meal. But, you know, spaghetti and meatballs, you know, it's usually covered with some kind of a sauce. How do you eat them over there?
Just fry them in the pan and often have them with either potatoes and some sauce or spaghetti.
Jesus Christ, that sounds fucking good. Now you've made me hungry, man. You know, I mean, you know, I kind of figured that. I kind of figured when I brought up Swedish meatballs that this was what it was going to do to me, because I've had Vag on here from Decapitated, and he got me talking about pierogies, and that made me hungry. So I mean, I gotta stop bringing up food in these interviews. You know, I mean, that never leads down a good path. But listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. It was really fun talking to you, man, and I'm so psyched up that you guys are back, man. You know, I wish you guys a lot of success with the album. Judging by this first track, it is going to be a fucking real fucking ripper. I can just tell already. The video is killer. I implore people to go out and check the video out. I sent it to one of my friends last night, and I was like, look at this fucking video. It's fucking amazing. I'm going to go to sleep and have fucking nightmares, which is great. you know, that's what I want from a vomitory video. I want to feel a little bit unsettled afterwards, you know?
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I think that's the response that you guys want to elicit. I mean, it's brutal death metal after all, right? This is not kid stuff here, you know?
No.
This is not for the faint of heart right here. This is not, you know, he might eat Swedish meatballs, but the music is very scary. Tobias, really, man, it's been a blast, man. And, you know, we'll definitely keep in touch. And hopefully we can get on here. We can do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Later. Folks, that's a legend. That's a death metal legend right there. A legit legend. That is Tobias Gustafsson, drummer for Vomitory, who are back with a fucking vengeance. And I mean vengeance. The new album is going to be called All Heads Are Going to Roll. There's already a title track out there called Our Heads Are Going to Roll with a video. Like I said, a disturbing, sinister, creepy, violent video. Just what we'd want from the Vomitory boys. Swedish death metal royalty right there, man. Him and his brother started that band 1989. God bless him, man. To have longevity in the extreme metal world is a rarity. You know, great guy. Joining us all the way from Sweden, man. Really appreciate him being on here, man. And, you know, really implore people to go check out what Vomitory is doing. Like I said, All Heads Are Going to Roll is the track that's out there circulating right now with video on YouTube. Do go check that out, man. You will have your face fucking melted right off the fucking skull. Drip right off. This is fucking, you know, Swedish death metal at its fucking finest, which is what you would expect from Vomitory, of course. So do go out and check them out. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed chopping it up with Tobias. Keith was very fucking scared during that interview. Death metal makes him very frightened, but I'm all in. So that's all that matters. Hope you guys enjoyed it, like I said. And remember, guys, till we do this again, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.